57.4 million in funding that was received from the federal government of the Republic of Germany. What was that for?
Primarily to deal with capacitating the NPA to fight corruption.
Foreign governments capture countries, and it starts off, sometimes it's not always in the form of money, but exactly that, it's training.
This German fund that you guys are talking about, did they fund the CR17 campaign? Why is Maumela not arrested even Namanj?
And you're going to hear it for the first time sitting here, that you're actually receiving money in kind that goes through a foundation that is chaired by Pet Nhlanhla. When are you coming for Maumela? You say when police are ready. Why should we be told about police when IDEC deals with those matters? It is IDEC that should have actually even developed an interest on its own that this is too huge to be left. The most embarrassing thing, I don't know why you're doing this to us. You are rocking, you are cruising nicely. You are really answering like a person who's going on retirement. It's like you don't care. You don't care what happens.
Advocate, there is in your annual report says there was 57.4 million in funding that was received from the federal government of the Republic of Germany. What was that for?
So that is primarily to deal with capacitating the NPA to fight corruption. And to say that, you know, it wasn't money that the NPA received, but we received services that helps us to capacitate the NPA.
Okay. And who conceptualized the project?
It was conceptualized in the NPA.
Okay.
Of course, with the government of Germany.
Okay. Did the NPA approach the Hans Siedel, is it Hans Siedel Foundation? Because this is the NGO that the funding was channeled through. Am I correct?
We worked with the government of Germany, and the government of Germany decided on the partner that will implement in South Africa.
Do you know why they chose the Hans Siedel Foundation?
I have no idea.
You didn't ask?
No, it was the German government. They were giving us the sponsorship, well, the assistance, and I assume that as a government they would do the responsible thing.
Okay. Do you know that the Hans Siedel, but as part of our government, don't you think you should also do the responsible thing and find out what was the story behind the Hans Siedel Foundation? Because do you know that they also collaborate with News 24?
I'm not aware of that.
And that it collaborates with the Institution of Security Studies that is chaired by a Jackie Salas, who goes around calling for prosecution of members of parliament and engages political discourse.
I didn't know that either, but I'm not sure how that becomes a challenge. It would be good to understand.
So you don't see how private funding can risk the capture of institution, of any institution for that matter, yet alone institutions like our criminal justice system. And we also had our previous Concord Mkhwanazi, who refused to take private funding as well because of the sacredness of these institutions that we have. And why do you feel differently?
So let me say that with regard to and it's not private funding. We are not getting funds, but we have engaged in innovative partnerships with the private sector to ensure that we get the skills and capacities that we need to assist us in the fight against corruption. The reason why we think this is not problematic is that we put safeguards in place to make sure that we distance ourselves from the funding as such, but also to be clear that this is in line with international good practice. The UN Convention Against Corruption specifically states that it's important for government to actually partner with the private sector in their fight against corruption. So this is an international good practice, and we have engaged in a very strategic way with relevant partners to ensure that we get the capacities, capabilities in the NPA, which in a very financially and fiscally constrained environment, we do not have. So this was actually bilateral meetings that we had with, the government of Germany and the South African government. I understand even ministers been involved. And so we put in place the safeguards to get the assistance to train and capacitate, really bespoke training for prosecutors and investigators in the fight against corruption.
So, Advocate, are you alive to the facts on how foreign governments capture countries? And it starts off, sometimes it's not always in the form of money, but exactly that, it's training. They're training prosecutors of our country. So the issue of being trained, being captured by another government, being in such close proximity, you don't see, leave the UN out. I mean, the UN cannot be our standard, and if we look at other issues on how they handle matters in the country. Let's talk about what we need here in the country. We've come out of a country that's both been colonized and through the apartheid. We need to stand on our own feet, and we need to manage. The fact that you even say, Advocate, that you didn't see any need to investigate this organization because you figured that Germany would do the right thing is problematic.
Honourable Member, I can understand the concern that you could have countries that would try to, in some way, influence things in another country. That's, of course, it's possible. But in this case, we control, it's not like the German government or the implementing partner that they chose are the ones that decide on what training we get. The training has been, the manuals have been developed completely by South African experts and prosecutors that sat together for days to develop a complete training manual drawing on our expertise. So it's completely something that's in-house. It is something that we control all aspects of with regard to the training. We even train, we get experts here. It's just the support in terms of getting
it's money,
the funded. I understand that it is money, but it's different where people would go to another country and get training that we have no control over. Here we have complete control over what is happening. We want to ensure that our prosecutors have the necessary capacities, and because of the fact that we are in a fiscally constrained environment, we've been innovative in trying to deal with these gaps to ensure that we can fight this fight properly.
You also said we don't need any more money, and here we are getting 57.7 million from another foundation that you didn't do any due diligence on. And to even go as far as your disclaimer saying we do our own training, we do our own manuals, etc. here, but you've just said, Advocate, that you don't know anything. You didn't even know that it's linked to this Jackie Sellers. You don't know about the Institution of Security Studies that he chairs, and that's problematic.
Thank you. Honourable Member, there's some things about what you said that I know about and other things that I don't know about. So the initial links that you mentioned, yes, I don't know anything about that. But what I do know about is the way we've been working with the government of Germany to ensure that we are able to get the training that we want. And there's other, there are other governments that are supporting other entities in South Africa with things like training. For example, the French government is in a partnership with the SIU to provide training for them. And so I agree, we need to have safeguards to ensure, for example, the things we have put in place. And, my understanding is that the Hans Seidel Foundation has, for decades worked with the German government as a trusted partner. So, I think it's important to understand that their role is an implementing partner for the German government. But we have really, I want to urge, we put in place controls to make sure that we control what happens, and it's not like getting training that's decided on by another government.
And then perhaps, Advocate, if we did more to end corruption, we wouldn't have to be begging with Germany and France and other countries to partner with to do very basic services we're supposed to offer our citizens. It's actually shameful, because I don't think any of those countries take any funding from South Africa to do any services over there. And these are just the bare basic services that we're supposed to offer our country, and we are taking funding from foreign governments to do it. It's quite disgraceful.
If I might respond to that, please, Honourable Member. Two things. I think in the first instance, I agree with you completely that if we could deal with corruption more effectively in this country, it's not just about taking money from other countries to fight corruption. Africa is almost the beggars of the West when it comes to aid and funding. It should never be the case. Africa is a rich continent. We have enough to pay for everything we need. But we become beggars to the rest of the world because of corruption in our countries. And I agree with you completely. If we're able to deal with corruption, we don't need money from anyone in the world. We'll be able to fund all of this. And just to clarify the point I made about the budget, we have for this, as I said, we have funding for budget for this year, but for the outer years, we are going to need a substantial increase in our budget. Thank you.
Chair, I want to ask about this regarding the matter of this funding. You see, Chair, it is known that throughout the world, intelligence agencies usually channel funds through this organization. They never fund an individual or government directly. They fund through these agencies. The crux of the matter is that this foundation channels funds on behalf of chairmen which are hostile on our system. So I beg to understand, accepting such fund, where is it helping us? And if I may ask, is this German fund that you guys are talking about, did they fund the CR17 campaign? And just one last question. Why is Maumela not arrested, even Namanj? Thank you, Chair.
On the first question, I explained when I was asked about the very bespoke training that we are putting together, where modules have been developed for prosecutors to really strengthen their ability to prosecute complex corruption cases. So this is helping us in that regard, and it's also about sharing and learning best practices from other parts of the world, so that we can also improve by taking on some of those practices. On the CR17 campaign, I don't know. I don't have that information. And on Maumela, once the police have investigated that matter properly, I don't know at what stage of the investigation it is. I have no information about it. But no doubt the prosecutors are working with the police and on this big matter. And when the evidence meets the standard, I'm sure they will do what is required of them.
No, thanks, Chair. I was not going to ask any question, but I've got a big problem where you earlier said you don't need money, you are sorted, maybe in the future years you'll need money, and then you go and take money in kind from the Germans. That is a huge contradiction. Because if there was a need for any kind of training to be provided by NPA, you would have budgeted for that to avoid getting money from foundations that you have not even vetted. It must be, and the most embarrassing thing, I don't know why you're doing this to us. Maybe I was saying to one of my colleagues here, you are really answering like a person who's going on retirement. It's like you don't care. You don't care what happens. How do you come here and you say you don't know who gave you 50-something million? You have not researched them? What if these people are chaired by Ket Matlala? And you are going to hear it for the first time sitting here, that you are actually receiving money in kind that goes through a foundation that is chaired by Pet Matlala. And then you say, I don't know. I don't know that. for an institution like NPA, you ought to take very serious who becomes your partner, both in monetary terms and even in kind. We were sitting here, we had evidence of Nhlanhla being solicited to finance a presidential campaign of one of the ministers. And therefore, it can't be far that NPA can also be captured by the same people. So I'm really saying, Advocate, you have done a disservice to us. You tell us you don't need money. You are rocking. You are cruising nicely. You can try next year. Maybe other years. This year we're fine. Then you come, you say you're taking donations in kind from the chairmans. And you keep on saying to us, we're not receiving any funding, as if we don't know the difference between donation in kinds and donation in money. It doesn't matter whatever form it takes. It has got monetary value, and you have accepted it after you said to us, you don't need money. To an extent that Advocate Bredenbach said, oh, we shouldn't fight for you in the Justice Department for more money. Because it should be something that we pride ourselves with, that we don't take money from foreign countries for the sake of our own sovereignty as a state, especially an institution like NPA. The last point I want to make again, Advocate, you say, we ask you about Maumela. It's such a huge case. Actually, we must be embarrassed that cars are taken, houses are paraded, and all of that. There's no criminal case. And then we ask you, when are you coming for Maumela? You say, when police are ready. That is a pure, completely pure than white corruption case of a hospital called Tembisa. Why should we be told about police when IDEC deals with those matters? It is IDEC that should have actually even developed an interest on its own that this is too huge to be left. These are the kind of cases we want. As a head of NPA that IDEC falls under, surely you should have developed an interest and said to IDEC, 680 million gone to skinny jeans, a hospital ordering skinny jeans, and a head of NPA, it doesn't matter, head of IDEC. You are the corruption buster yourself because all of them fall under you. You should be able to say, come here. What happened with this case of people buying patients' skinny jeans? Because when we go to hospitals, we normally get those gowns which are open at the back. What does a patient do with a skinny jean? That should have been an issue of interest for a corruption pastor. We asking you, what are you doing up? We say, no, when police are ready, when it's ripe, then it will come to us and all of that. That's not a matter to be left to police. That's a typical example of cases that IDEC should be dealing with, not human resource. We have a case here, a big case of human resource, that a CV does not have an address or something like that. It's a criminal case. But here is a case of 680 million, close to $1 billion, only that which we can account for now, and worse, through this body, not asset forfeiture unit, the one of Kaiser Khanyawa and them. SIU. We hear from SIU that we are now sitting at almost 680 million. That's what SIU can uncover. Imagine if IDEC is there, crime intelligence is there, we're going to get more than $1 billion of one individual involved in corruption. The head of NPA says, well, we don't know, we'll wait for the police. That's so disappointing to tell the truth. Thanks.
If I can deal with that, there are two parts. Firstly, on the German funding, just to say that this project was a long time coming. It's not like we initiated it now. It's probably taken about 3 to 4 years to come to fruition. So it started at a time when we really needed the funding. So, you know, it took about 3 or 4 years before that came to fruition. It's not a new thing. So on the issue of IDEC, I agree with you that these are the kinds of cases that IDEC should be doing. IDAC has got limited resources at the moment. They are barely able to deal with the cases that they want. And I think this is the role of this committee, would be to strengthen IDAC, to give them the resources and all of the capacities, capabilities that they need. Because I agree with you completely. This is the kind of case that IDAC should be investigating. Thank you.
So can you please withdraw your earlier statement that you don't need funding? You are sorted, because now you just confirmed you need funding. IDAC is funded through you. You
I
need
withdraw
money.
that
And
statement.
please withdraw the earlier statement that you don't need money.
I do withdraw that statement.
Thank you.